Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I am excited today. I always am for these, but thank you for your time. I know our time is so precious and you could be doing other things. So, whether you're watching live or on replay, welcome again to another episode of the Power of Intentional Partnerships. We're streaming live today to LinkedIn and YouTube, and we have a very special episode today that I've really been looking forward to, in case you can't tell. So we value all our partners at CEPHR. Today we're highlighting a different kind of partnership. So as you may know, unless you're newer to us, in that case, welcome and check out our former episodes on YouTube. I'll detail that in the comments. It should be in there for you already, but we'll refresh it and put a new link in there. So if you are new, check it out. Otherwise, welcome to this first episode for you. And this mini-series really came about from CEPHR's value of agility. So I was having a conversation with a partner and we thought, why don't we feature this work? So now I've had the blessing to feature so many great folks who are doing great things. You've all been joining for these, but we really embrace opportunities at CEPHR. We're not afraid to try new things. Hence, we popped up this little mini series and you've gotten to hear from all these folks. Flexibility is key. What we recognize throughout this process of considering this is that exploring partnerships as you start or scale a business is really critical. Even as an individual contributor at work, if you're responsible for collaborating with others, whether that's internally or externally to your organization, you're working with a mentor, it's really important to be able to have different types of partnerships and people you can lean on. So what does it look like and how do you make those partnerships work, both for the individual, but also as a collective? So today, I have an even more unique and distinct honor to highlight community partners, Linda Espinosa Valencia and Ana María Desmaison Cornejo, and their great work at Ventura Collective. We're grateful for those of you who show up in community to support collectively and how they do this great work. And that's why I've asked them to join us today. So let's not hold on to any more of this mystique and let's bring in these wonderful two partners. Welcome, Linda and Ana Maria.
Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Tiffany.
Thank you so much, Tiffany, for having us. This is so exciting.
It is. Thank you for being here. I've been so giddy about this. I had to wear my bright pink for you too. I'm just so excited for folks to hear about you. So I don't know who wants to steal the floor, but whoever wants to start, you can tell them about your individual backgrounds, and then we can kick off and talk about Ventura Collective. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Tiffany. We're super excited. Thank you, everyone that is joining today. So, my name is Ana María Desmaison Cornejo. My pronouns are ella, she, her. I am originally from what we now call Peru, from the region of the Quechuas and Aymara peoples. I now live in Georgiague, the land of the Haga Nation. I am a single mom of 3 really wonderful humans. I'm a biz partner with Linda Espinosa. I'm a friend, a collective builder. My background, work-wise, comes from a lot of different fields: sales, fundraising, education savings plans. I've done it all, and I think that's part of our experience when we come to a new new country. So yes, I'm just very, very, very happy to be here with you, Tiffany, and with Linda to speak about our partnership. That is mostly, like, it is one of my favorite subjects for sure, to speak about how grateful I am to have met Linda and building Ventura Collective alongside her, and with all the people that we're meeting and that we are meeting, like you, and building that collective together. So thank you.
So wonderful. Thank you.
And my name is Linda Espinosa Valencia, originally from what we call today Mexico, from the region of the Mayan peoples. But I currently live in the area of Take, Toronto, the Greater Toronto area, the land of the Mississaugas of the Credit. And my background is actually in marketing and international business. But my time living in the US, I lived there for 10 years. It was very transformational. And that's how I got involved with social justice and equity, diversity, and inclusion. And that's how I met Ana María. And I'm very grateful for you, Tiffany, for inviting us, because as Ana María said, this is one of our favorite subjects to talk about, how we came together and how we started creating Ventura Collective.
Thank you. I never tire of hearing this story, and I think one of the things that I love about this mini series is really what we found is that folks are friends, and then they start to collaborate and do business because it is about building relationships. You can't really get to, well, I guess you could get to a partnership without a relationship, right? Those don't usually end well, and sometimes even if you're friends, they don't. But it's really important to establish that relationship, and it's very evident that you two love the work that you do, that you are proud of each other and shine the light on each other. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about your work at Ventura Collective? What's it all about, and what is this wonderful thing that you're doing?
Sure. Thank you for that, Tiffany. Well, I think that one of the key ingredients to our relationship, and I use the word relationship very intentional, because that encompasses our partnership and the work we do, and the family and our families and our friendship. So it is truly a relationship, and I think one of the key ingredients to our relationship is intentionality. And we do bring that intentionality. We are committed to making this work, to support one another, to build community, to build collective, and be there. Actually, recently, a friend of mine, Ayan Neshreda, made a beautiful observation about how relationships start. And she says, any relationship, being friendship, romantic, familial, starts when two people are ready to recognize one another. And that is the initial spark. So, Linda and I, we met through the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion eCornell certification. And, yes, we were ready to recognize one another. I was profoundly inspired and by her comments and her inputs. And we were there. We were able to recognize each other. But once that recognition happens in any relationship, again, I think there's and definitely there is the energy to connect deeper, then the real work sort of starts already, right? Because that's when the intention has to come into place. And that's again where I think Linda and I have been very clear with one another. Like, we are intentionally going to foster our relationship moving forward. And we speak a lot about being ready to move to the next stages of our relationship, and that those next stages that are inevitable in any relationship, right, are going to require a lot from us, a lot of inner work, a lot of conversations, a lot of uncomfort, a lot of comfort, a lot of tears, a lot of joy, and embracing that, and embracing our relationship with intentionality is, I think, what has made us stronger and really truly enjoy our partnership, our relationship.
Oh, so beautiful. Thank you. Oh, this is why I get so giddy, because we share the values of intentionality and community and DIB and all the things. And to hear you start off with that, and in recognition that this is something we have to pour into, and we do have to be intentional to foster that and to really build. And I love the connection. I know we're also passionate about how work doesn't start when we get to work. We are extensions of our family and whatever else experiences, our friends, our loved ones. And I love that you share that connection too. Oh my gosh, so giddy. Linda, what do you want to add on here?
Yes, to everything that Ana Maria said. And as well, I think it was first a recognition, as she said, of where we were at the moment where we met, right? Like, I was just moving back to Canada after being in the US for 10 years. I had my own business in the US, and when I moved back to Canada, I said, like, I'm so tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I just want to work for a company and like go to my 9 to 5 and just go home, and that's it. But then, like, that recognition, that understanding our shared values and what we wanted, and what we wanted for our community were both Latinx women, and what we wanted to see more of in Canada, that we don't see each other. Like, we are big group in the US. Like our group is way smaller in Canada. So, representation and recognition is small. So that kind of like what brought us together. We want to see more of ourselves represented anywhere. So how can we do that? And that kind of like started like a side project. We didn't say like, oh, we're going to be partners. Like we said, like, what can we do this for our community? It started with that intentionality of wanting to do something for our community. And that like slowly transformed on like, oh, we work so well together. Like our goals are very similar. Like we're both very into, like social justice, equity, diversity, inclusion. Our backgrounds, like, maybe we're into something here, right? Maybe we're into something here. So that's kind of like we started meeting. I remember when we met in 2021, but it feels that we know each other forever, and we just met in 2021. But like transparency will be like the second ingredient in this, right? Transparency of like, this is who I am, this is my situation, this is where I come from, these are the things that I have to go through right now. Like, do you want to be my partner? Do we want to be partners? Like, these are the goods, these are the bads, this is the ugly, this is the beauty, this is the joy. And I think that is another key ingredient in our relationship. And as Ana Maria said, it is a partnership, but it's a relationship. And that transparency has stayed throughout all this time, and everything, either as well as personal as when it comes to business, right? Like I know I can, if we're busy, both of us are busy, and she's gonna go be meeting with someone, I trust her 100% that she's gonna have the best interest, not only for herself but for myself and for the company. And because we are in relationship, like our families are involved, so I care for her family, and I want her family to be well, to create wealth, just as she cares for my family, right? So we just spent actually the holidays, the December holidays together. I spent it here, and like like our kids met, and all that. She's in Montreal and I'm in Toronto, so that makes it like an extra layer of I care. Yes, because we have a business together, but I care because I care for your family, and she cares for my family too.
Oh my gosh, that's so special. I feel like I've known you two for like ever. And I think we just met in 2022 when you joined the series on Fridays. And that's how, I can't remember if Ana Maria, I think you joined once, or maybe I met you through Linda. Yes, okay. Pulling from the memory banks here, but I know that that's been the connection for us. And I feel like I've known you two forever. And it's hard to believe that it's only been 2 years that you've known each other. Wow. This energy is so great. And I love that you have this trust, transparency, that you spend time outside of work together. And like you said, it's the good, the bad, the ugly, the beauty, the joy. It's all that comes along with it. And if you can't be in relationship with someone and understand that and foster support and empathy for each other, because life is not always perfect, work is not always perfect, but you support each other that way, and it makes the days so much easier, I imagine.
Yes.
We spend so much time at work.
Yeah.
Right? Like, unfortunately, in this society where you need to start, producing and, getting money to survive and all that, like you spend a huge amount of time at work. And I feel that, for the longest time, the idea was like, don't, make friends, with, at work, or don't go into business with a friend, or, like these paradigms that we're completely destroying in our partnership. Because we're becoming friends, we, like I said, we spend time outside of work. We enjoy spending time with each other. We, I said, we cry, we laugh, we make fun of each other, we like everything, right, under the sun. So it's a lot of breaking of these molds that the society or business, like, like you have to be all business, you have to be like, no, like we bring humanity, we bring, like who we are, like as mentioned before, the good, the bad, the ugly, the joy, everything. Here's everything.
Yes, yes. All, everything, yes, for what you were sharing, Tiffany and Linda. And also with an understanding that the trust that we have for each other is something that we also intentionally foster for one another, right? So we were talking about it actually the other day. Like, I trust Linda because she has shown me that I can trust her, you know, and I'm doing the same. Like, it is part of the accountability that I want to embrace, to show her that she can trust me. You know, it's not, and that I think is important, that we take accountability in our relationship to foster these values that we find important. And I remember at the beginning of starting Ventura Collective, Linda guide us through writing our values, writing our the foundations of what we would like to envision. And, you know, I remember she was like, you know, Amiga, we can go back to these every time. Like, as we move along, we'll go back to these and we'll remember why is it that we started this, what is important for us, and sort of recenter, right? Because so much of our partnerships and relationships are reflective of ourselves, right? That's why the importance of inner work is so is vital. Like, we need to do our inner work, so we need to be prepared to be ready to continue our partnership in different stages, under different circumstances, and always center intentionally daily that this is our commitment, right? And this is a beautiful way of reminding us all that this intentionality, this remembering every day is, yes, easier said than done, but also it is easy. Like, it is, you know, like, it's yes and and it's been beautiful. And I have immense joy every day. I open my computer, open my Zoom, and I see Linda. I have, honestly, you know, and because, yeah, like, especially the work that we're doing towards equity, diversity, and inclusion, towards social justice, uh, it can be, it's challenging. It's not easy, and I rely, and I think we rely on each other and our collective to hold space and to be like, okay, let's make space for all these emotions. You know, let's even work with our bodies. Like, we practice breathing, we practice dancing. Like, we break out the day and we're like, okay, Mia, can we dance now? Okay, Mia, let's breathe. Like, you know, and yes, making space for all these things, and just have the courage and the patience and the kindness with each other, and to be reflected for ourselves to continue.
I love that. So much of what you said is really resonating, and those are all the secret ingredients, right? And I find that a lot of time when I'm working with other teams, or as people are trying to build their cultures, that, and I know you see this too in your work in community and in collectives, like, that sometimes that's missing, right? Sometimes we're not holding space for people. Sometimes that empathy doesn't show up. Sometimes accountability is missing. And because we want to be kind and patient and nurturing, we don't give feedback, or we don't maybe give it in the nicest way, or sometimes we just avoid the conflict and that trust and transparency. I love how you described, Ana Maria, how it is a relationship where you make sure that Linda knows that you're there, but that it's reciprocal, right? That you have to be able to do that. I love that you talk about, the way that you show up for each other, because that matters, whether you're in a team or you're a business partnership, you're a solopreneur with, kind of subcontracted out team like I have, whatever that looks like for people. It's really important to establish, what are your values, just like you all have done. And I think that community is so critical to that. We all need that. We can't work in a bubble. It doesn't really work that well. And if you do, it gets really lonely, right? So I want to have dance parties. I want to, and honoring the body, right? Like, I love that you said that too. I have a training coming up next month with a client, and that's part of how we're going to set our intentions for the day. You got to get up and, you need a bio break. We don't fight with our bodies. Like, hydrate, do what you have to do, right? Linda, you touched on breaking these kind of norms of partnership or what the workplace should look like. And I think that's some of it, is feeling like, oh, I have to do this way. But we're so conditioned to societal norms. What are some other things? Hi, Emily. Emily's here. She's joining us. I wasn't sure if comments were working. So thanks for joining. Emily's amazing. And I think, one of the things too is that I'm curious about is what other myths, whether that's as folks who identify as women, as Latinas, as business partners. What else have you seen that, you want to share with people about partnership, that maybe there's a few myths floating around out there? What else would you add for us?
I think a big one is that, like women working together, like what a nightmare, right? Like they're just like fighting with each other, and like they, like want to up each other, like a one up each other. And I think it's because, unfortunately, society has shown us that like there's only space for one women in this group, right? So like it's like you have to fight with each other to make that spot. But in this case, like, and Ana Maria just had a beautiful session on Monday called creating our dream work culture. And she talked about creating these new places, but like taking in consideration the white supremacy is the ocean and not the shark. So creating these new ponds and new lakes for us to swim in. So that's what we're trying to do with Ventura Collective, creating a new pond, a new river, but not only for us to swim, but for our collective. One of the things that, and I think it was just like our ancestors looking over us, like we were supposed to be called Ventura Consulting, but that name was taken.
Yeah.
And we were okay, we won't use that. And we said like, well, actually, Ventura Collective will be a great name because we didn't ever will, say, oh, this is all our work. We do it by ourselves, ever. Like we don't call ourselves experts. Like we don't arrive to a place with EDI, right? Or DEI, as they said in the US. Like you're constantly learning, you're constantly evolving, and you need your collective, you need your community to do this, right? So we extend this partnership between me and Ana Maria. It's not only for the two of us. Like that's the nucleus of Ventura Collective, but it expands to everyone who works with us, who is in community with us, and we extend that same transparency, trust, and loving accountability, right? So I think that's one of a lot of myths and a lot of, what is it? Society has these silent norms. And I saw a couple of posts about this week on LinkedIn. We're saying like all these norms that they're not written, but everybody knows, right? So we're definitely breaking a lot of this with our partnership and with Ventura Collective.
Oh, I love that. I love the silent norms. Like, right. Sometimes norms are in your face. Sometimes norms are for folks who are like us, who are, parts of communities that can be marginalized, oppressed, disadvantaged, and taken advantage of in many ways by society. And its norms, right? It seems like sometimes those rules don't apply to you, or you don't have the equity, the access to all of the opportunities, or you have to really struggle and fight for those. I know that as partners, having those conversations is really important. And I do the same. And it's those, you all have created space. Back the last time we talked, I shared a lot of vulnerable things with you. And I'm just so grateful that we can sit in community and have these conversations. Emily, Karen, Tia, thank you for being here. Every single one of them I've been able to have very candid conversations with too. And that is the beauty of, Linda, you said expansion, having community and others we can rely on, because we all need that support. And society has its like norms that are out front, where maybe it doesn't create space for those of us who are different or perceived different, or not respected because we're a little bit outside of the box and we do things differently and we don't feel that we need to fit in said box. And other times it's silent, right? And that's where we have to open those doors for each other and shine the light, because there's all these norms that we're like, well, what are we supposed to be doing? Supposed to, right? And so many people get conditioned the wrong way when they come into business, when they come into the workplace. That's how office politics get into place. I was joking with somebody the other day. It was last week. I was talking and I'm like, so politics is a thing, right? Like it used to be like, oh, don't talk about that at work, right? Like all the taboo things. Well, now we do, right? But it's like, but there's a reason why it's called politics. Like we shouldn't have to be like dancing around things and playing games at work, or certainly in your business. And you should be able to trust the person who is by your side, and who you're doing work with, that how they show up to your client is how you would do it. And that there's trust that, well, I love, one of the beauties that I love about partnership is having that opportunity to be like, okay, we don't need to like micromanage and check in with each other. I trust that you got this and you trust that I got this. And together we're going to create something that is better than we could do alone, right?
Yes, Tiffany, absolutely. Yes to everything. I'm loving this conversation. I feel it in my chest. I'm like, yes. And to expand on what Linda was saying, like Ventura in Spanish actually means the state of joy, health, and fulfillment that one embodies when one reaches their desires. And we desire an equitable, loving community and society while fostering, our larger vision towards a much larger world, right? So we are giving each other that space too. That's also, in my opinion, breaking a little bit of the very rigid work norms that we've been looking at, just at gain, at sales, like honestly priorities that are meaninless, and I don't want to say meaningless, like for sure it is important, but they're not the larger one. They're like, I guess, means or stages that are important towards a larger goal. And we also want to unlock the power of our imagination, the power of our dreams, our desires. And the work of Adrienne Marie Brown lately has been very present for Linda and I. And, as she says, with many other lineages, many wonderful people's knowledge and wisdom that we have been learning from. So Adrienne Marie Brown speaks of the works of Octavia Butler and how important our imagination is in the process of liberating our mind, our thoughts, our relationships, and how important that is within the process of healing ourselves and creating and envisioning the world that we dream of, that we deserve. And I love, like she says, I believe that all organizing is science fiction, that we are shaping the future we long for and have not yet experienced. So I love that quote, and I think that's resonates a lot with Linda and I's work, in terms of we want to give ourselves a space to imagine something that we haven't yet experienced, and that's okay. And not doing it alone, not creating something new, just joining already movements that have been going on for centuries, joining local organizations, joining other members of our collective, like your work, Tiffany, and just adding our strength to the collective dream. That's what we want.
That is so beautiful, just so beautiful. And I know that you do a lot of, it's not, so many people use, I think, the word community very loosely, and you can, right? Like it's a broad term like many, but when we define what that means for us and for our business and our defined relationships in community, that's when it's meaningful, right? That's when we make impact. And I know from talking to behind the scenes as we do, that you do a lot of listening. So it's not, one of the things that I think is very, very important as a cornerstone of EDI, DIB equity work, right, is to not come in like we're trying to save the day or save anyone, no matter what intersection you sit at. We as humans have egos, and we have this tendency to think that we're going to come in and rescue everyone. And as a business, as a consultant, we can have those tendencies too. But when we really listen, and that's why active listening is also a CEPHR value. I know that you value that as well. When you're going into community, it's not just here's Ana Maria and Linda, and we are just here and we have all the answers. You do so much listening, and it's a part of your process. So I would love if you can, like, not give away your trade secrets, but I just love the beautiful way that you describe that for me and how it's so present in your work. And if you just want to share about a specific project or what it really means to you to sit in community and to make the impact that you're able to make.
We don't believe in trade secrets. We believe in sharing. Like, we don't believe in competition. We believe in collective impact. So we're always talking with everyone about what we do, how we do it. Do you want to join? Do you want to take the certification? Go ahead. We need more hands. It's absolutely. I would never talk about like, oh, let's keep it for ourselves. No, let's give it to community, because we need to create these ponds and lakes for all of us to swim together and create a new reality. So no secrets, just something that it really has spoken to us, and that's kind of like one of the pieces of Ventura Collective, is that when we talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion, we don't only talk about it as a moral problem. It's a moral problem, like if you have morality, then we won't have this problem. Yes, but it's systemic as well. So going at it from a systemic perspective and change it as a systematic change is the cornerstone for Ventura Collective. So we have come across a framework that actually goes to the root of the systemic problem, and it's called the International Standard Organization Standard, the ISO 30415. It's not a very attractive name. We were talking about that this morning. It's like, oh my God, that name is cool. Anyway, that's the name of it. But it actually touches every single part of the organization, from governance all the way to supplier diversity and outside stakeholders, because it recognizes an organization a part of a community and not a silo, not an island. Like, organization is part of one community somewhere, or actually in many places, right? So the ISO framework, that's what brings, and it's a little bit of a hack in the sense that the ISO, and I don't know if Tiffany, you're familiar with the ISO, with the International Standard Organization. They have millions of standards. They do about cybersecurity, about HR, about like, and a lot of organizations need different kinds of ISO to actually be able to export their products to different parts of the world. So it's a big organization that has been around for years and years, and its members are from people around the world. So it's not only from Europe, it's not only from the US, or it's like people from around the world. And when a standard is released, the standard is actually a committee from people from around the world. So the perspective is an international perspective versus just the US or just Canada or just Western, but it's that international perspective. So that's the ISO release in 2021, the diversity and inclusion standard. And that is the framework that Ventura Collective uses to do equity, diversity, and inclusion, and it touches every part of the organization. So it's really committed organizations that we work with, because of course you need the commitment of leadership to enable to embed EDI in the organization. So it has, like, everybody was like, nobody's gonna want to work with you. Like, please, like, who wants, like, actually a lot of people want to work with this. So we are very excited for this. This is brand new. I said it just was released in 2021. And Ana Maria and myself are one of the few consultants certified to do this kind of framework.
So amazing. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah, and the ISO was developed by Ephinus Henderson from the Institute for Sustainable Diversity and Inclusion, and also Professor and Dr. Dawn Bennett Alexander. She's been a teacher and worked with labor law in the States from the very beginning. So knowing that these two wonderful people are behind the ISO also gave us a lot of confidence and a lot of thought. Just a lot of confidence that this is not just one extra layer. It is something that was developed in a span of 10 years, as Linda was saying. And part of our understanding of things is also, again, bringing the inner work as the essential part for continuing our work in the outside, is kind of knowing that they, yes, interconnect, and we can do this in parallel, right? Like, a lot of our inner healing, which is something that Linda and I hold dear, and we put it at the center of our daily activities, is also something that, we're not going to do in public. This is something that we need safety to do. We need our own community to do it with. And I don't mean by community the Latinx community, I mean the community and the collective that we're building. Having said that, using or utilizing what frameworks, what tools are already in place, and having found the ISO, is really what we see it as an effective way of finding or clearing the path for equity, diversity, and inclusion within organizations, right? And the fact that, for example, the insurance companies are seeing this standard as something that, it's going to be soon required in organizations to be insured, that is going to be tied to their insurance policies. Then again, we just need to find as many vehicles, as many ways to embed EDI, not in the whole organization, and not divided or cornered it in just one area. Like, for example, Tiffany, you know very well, HR, right? But like everywhere, right? Everyone needs to be accountable. And especially we need to create policy. We need to create structures. Things need to be put in place. So that's something that excites us very much. And as we are learning and growing together, as in relationship, in our partnership, within our collective, and this super exciting new partnership that we're establishing, a strategic partnership that we're establishing with Ultimate Potentials. That is part of the work. It's part of creating more connections, creating a larger network, and seeing how all of our efforts can overlap and should overlap to move this forward, to move equity forward.
I love that. And this is kind of to what Linda said about how society teaches you, like, what? Like, you can't, partner with another woman. She's going to steal all your shine. And it happens sometimes that, maybe I don't know if it's like the Jackson Five or what, but like one person may emerge and, you know, be the star or something. And I think that so many people see some of that, and, you know, Hollywood teaches us certain things too, and people will, you know, kind of buy into those norms, if you will. And so it's like, no, there's enough for all of us. And there, again, as a collective, right, we can do so much more together. And I know, you know, we're all sitting here because of the ability of, you know, partnerships and community and all of those things, and expanding our circles and being able to connect into ways that we can all help each other to do the great work that is out there to be done in this world. And so many times I hear, and you probably do too, where people want to compartmentalize things, or they want to put it in the HR bucket over here, where they, you know, we've all seen how these EDI roles get cut, and how, you know, now that's the first thing to go when there was such a hyper focus before. Well, that's, now we're doing it performatively. That's not really, you know, how we anchor it and embed it. So I love that you are using this framework of ISO, but also tapping into your partners. And that's one thing that I think people forget, you know, as it relates to diversity. We're like just wired, especially, well, depending where you are on your journey, to like, what do I see as diversity? There's a lot of things that any of us, you might see certain things, but you might assume too. You might assume wrong in terms of who we are, what our background, skills, experiences, lived experiences are. And so those are things, you know, where that listening really, really comes into play. And why I love that you're doing these other things. And you get to talk about that later on. You're on the LinkedIn Live
exactly
today.
It's so funny. It's so funny that we're into LinkedIn Lives today. And the other thing that comes to mind is how we complement our strengths. Linda is a certified Gallup strength coach. And I think that, that has brought up so many great conversations within the two of us. And also, in the same way as we hold space and we support our strengths, we do the same with our larger collective, right? And it has a ripple effect. But the great thing about that is that you know, for the first time, I have felt many different sensations in my body that relates to workplaces. For the first time, and thanks to the partnership and the relationship that we've built with Linda, I feel safe. I feel like I don't have to hide. I feel that I can, you know, share with Linda how I process data differently, embracing my own dyslexia, in how is it that can help me come up with many connections and the creativity. And Linda has other strengths, which are like, you know, a great strategy and focus on doing things, and like the creating part. And I really love that, because, you know, for so long that was a huge insecurity of mine, and now it's part of like our creative process, right? Linda mentioned this presentation that we had at Untapped Leaders, and, you know, just a side note, that was like, you know, I was telling her, Mia, this is like a whole pregnancy, like birthing process. Like, I'm on the third trimester of this. And she was like, you know, you can take your time. And now, you know, like, she knows how I like start with so many different things, and then I have to thoroughly process. And I'm like, okay, I post it, like, it's out. And now it's like we're in the process of, you know, writing our first article about the fact that what we want to do is create these ponds and lakes of characteristics that are the antidotes of white supremacy. Because as Linda brought up that quote from his name is Kyle Guante Tran. He's a poet, and he said that white supremacy is not a shark, it is the water. And while we were thinking of the characteristics of the workplace culture, I mean, we came up with the characteristics of white supremacy in a heartbeat. But working on the antidotes to that, we came up with like 14 clear characteristics. And anyways, we're working on it. We'll be super happy to share it with you. But the joy in that process and the joy of calling Linda, being like, Amiga, I'm done. the idea crowned and now it's birthed,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you all for all your compliments and joining us. It really is. This is like conversation is giving me such energy. And I feel that way every single time that I get to sit down with you two. And it is such a gift. And you're just like a powerhouse of a team and individually so just amazing. And I love, Ana Maria, that you talked about this collective trust that you have, but also the strengths. And I love strengths. If you couldn't guess, my top strength is positivity. Not that, but we're talking about like the reality of how is it every day that I feel that way? No, this is a real world. And sometimes this world is heavy. There's white supremacy. There's all the things that demand of us in business and life and trying to get stuff done when you're trying to go to Jamaica like I am. So all those things. But it is such a foundation that you have to have. And so that's another ingredient that you just highlighted there, to have that safety. And people think when you talk about those words or you say psychological safety, no, like our mental health is the business. It is part of it. We cannot pour from an empty cup, as we know. And I love this description of the water and the shark. Like that is so resonant for me. And in this creative process and how you go through your creative process, your process doesn't look the same as mine or any other partnership. It's all going to be different, but that is the beauty. And if people could just really understand that as a core foundation, that it's our differences that make us stronger. That is the beauty that we bring to it. It's why you don't say like, oh, I don't see color. I don't, we do, and we all show up with bias. And so the fact that you are using that as a superpower in your relationship is, and how you just described how Linda was like, okay, like here's how we're going to break it down. And what you each bring to that is just beautiful. It's magic. And I'm super excited to check out this article too. So I know I'll be on the hot list to receive it.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I will invite everyone to go find your strengths. Like truly, like if there's different assessments to do that. Like as Ana Maria mentioned, I'm a Gallup certified strengths coach. But knowing my own strengths really helped me understand other people.
Mm-hmm.
So think about it, like knowing my own strengths really helped me understand other people, because it made me understand that not everyone has the same strengths as me.
Mm-hmm.
And that how we can actually complement those special things that we have, and that sometimes people see those as their weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we haven't honed in, the power, the power of these weaknesses.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, my top one is achiever. And, I can go until I die because I want to achieve. I want to finish my list. But the list is forever long, right? So understanding that not everyone has achiever, then it helps me understand that my team needs time. That not everyone can go at the same pace as me, and that everyone will have different priorities, and maybe finishing a list is not your priority when you have something else happening, either health, your mental health is so important and all that. So knowing those things is so helpful, and it truly gives you a better understanding of yourself and others.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is safety. It is so eye-opening when you talk to people, especially people outside of the EDI or like social justice and all that. When you talk about safety, it's always about physical safety.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know I'm not gonna get killed right now. I'm not. Nothing is gonna. A lion is not gonna jump on me or anything. But the last thing we think about is psychological safety or mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why there's a huge mental health crisis in the world, right? Because we are ashamed to talk about it. We don't perceive it as important in the workplace. And when you don't center that as important as your physical safety, like there's like a countdown in places to say like, oh, we haven't had any accident. There's no countdown for any kind of mental health. right? So your physical safety is as important as just mental health. And your psychological safety at work, and that's something that absolutely we need to talk so more about it. Bring it when and we definitely do when we are working with our clients. Psychological safety is paramount for everyone in your organization.
Absolutely. That is so, and Jamie here, who's in the comments, is part of CEPHR, and so I'll usually partner with them too every year for a safety conference, like physical safety, right? But that is important, right? We don't want to be getting injured at work, but our psychological safety, it's so paramount to how we do our work, whether we can do our work. I've been very vulnerable to say that I've suffered 2 depressions from work, and it's why I say, in the culture work that I'm doing, that I'm trying to help people so that they don't ruin people at the end of the day. And that might sound fluff, but I've been one of those people. I have been ruined by my workplaces. And so to keep that top of mind, and Linda, you as creatives, we think about those things around like the countdown and the clock, because there is only so much time in life. We don't get an exorbitant amount of it. It's, inordinate. And there's definitely a countdown on our bodies, burnout. You talked about like honoring your body. We have to live in those moments and be present in order to really listen to what is my body telling me, because it will break down on you, and it will just suddenly be like, no, we're not doing this. I will make you slow down. In the achiever, I have that as part of my top 5 too. I like the list. I like to get it done. I am a go-getter. I am extremely ambitious and driven, and in recognizing that there are, to every strength, there can be pitfalls, right? It doesn't mean it's a weakness. It means I observe and I'm emotionally intelligent enough to understand how that may impact other people as well as myself, right?
Yes.
So don't fall into those things.
I call it a dial. I like to, because we always talk about balance, but sometimes you do need to do more of something or the other one. So for me, it's like a little dial, right? Like, what do I need in this moment? What needs my attention? Then, okay, maybe I need to crank the achiever. So we have a big presentation this week, right? So, achiever, go up, right? Like okay, it's time to relax. It's time to, build community, not be, hurrying everyone. Okay, lower that one and increase relational ones. Like once you know it, you can handle all those things. But when you don't know, then it's harder to control what you don't know.
Yeah. Yes. And Tiffany, I can speak for Linda, I think, on this one. Thank you for that openness within your own leadership. We met, and you're running a successful business, and you were showing up. You do show up every time, real and vulnerable, and it was because of you sharing those mental health valleys that you experienced, that I was able to also recognize in me that I can feel comfortable sharing that in my journey with others. So everything that we've experienced with you, during our community building and during our conversation off camera, has always been really seeds that we continue to water. So thank you for that. Thank you for showing all the skills needed to run a successful business as you are doing, and also all the conversations, that inner work that needs to be done to fulfill yourself, fulfill your family, fulfill your clients, and us, that we get to be so fortunate to be around you.
Oh my gosh, thank you. You can make me cry over here. That's so kind. And I appreciate the grace that you have with me, and this, this community that we get to sit in, and the fact that it feels like I've known you for so much longer than I have. And I'm just grateful that, I'm able to have spaces where I can show up, because we give so much of that to everybody else, but we need to have it too, to fill our cups. And not every day is perfect. Not every day is easy. Some things that even excite us can be challenging, and that can have an impact on our mental health, or our achiever can kick into high gear. And then we forget, like, oh, last night I was up super late because I had my creative muse was up, and I was like, I gotta get this done. I'm going on vacation, but I was excited about the work. And so it's that inner work that I think too is another really key ingredient that I think sometimes people miss out. So listen to your body, listen to your heart, your mind, your spirit, whatever you're called to, your community. And that's how we do this together. And that is an ingredient to successful partnerships, but also businesses, teams, cultures, effectively a better world, right? Which is what we're trying to get to. Oh, I feel like this hour has gone so fast. What would you want to leave us with? What are you aspiring to do next together? Any parting thoughts?
I think one thing I want to say is that a lot of people here in this, well, maybe not your audience, but some other people that we don't know. But I think that this is like, oh, this is a bunch of fluff. This is about like touchy feeling thing. This is not about business. You will never be good at business with this point of view. And I think that's one of the biggest paradigms that we're breaking, right? Like that we don't have to separate our emotions, our feelings, our humanity with our business. Like we're humans. Like we can't leave our humanity out to go into business. And I think that's what leads us to, do to have the burnout, to have this, mental health crisis on ourselves and our community, because we're constantly code switching. We're constantly doing things that don't align with ourselves. So I'm gonna move away from scarcity mindset. This is like, oh, like the people are not gonna want to work with me if I'm this way, or something. Like, no, the people who I want to work with, they will resonate with this.
Yes.
And they will want to work with us because of what we're doing. So yeah, I just want to say this is a recipe for good business, because people will want to work with us because we're not toxic and bringing people down, but we want to build everyone up.
Yeah, I love it. And it's part of your brand, but it's core to who you are too.
Yeah.
What would you add, Ana Maria?
Oh, so many things. Sometimes I go too far into my branches of thought, and now I'm like, where do I come back? One thing is the importance of somatic practices. We have been really mindful of starting our day with breaths, 4 breaths, breaking, like I said, for those dances. We're slowly catching up with indigenous wisdom that we have carried from generations past, and that in order to show up for ourselves, for our loved ones, for our partnership, for our community, we need to be in touch with what's going on here, where we're carrying it. It's not a logical type of work. It's more of a somatic type of work. So yeah, I invite everyone to explore that. We're exploring it with a lot of kindness and patience, but that's been really transformational, and just making space for that.
I love that. Yes. Oh, yes. Sí, vamos a bailar. Let's
go. We're so jealous that you're going to a wonderful place.
It's been a long time coming. As we know, we work hard, but when you pour that intentionality, I would almost say this could be like a whole nother conversation, and we can continue it offline. And if anyone wants to chime in the comments, but really, truly, when you pour into your community and yourself, you do that inner work, and you're impacting folks, and you pour in intentionally, and you care, and you're in relationship. It is. And when you sit at certain intersections, even, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of energy. And so doing your somatic breathing, dancing, whatever that looks like, calling a friend. I called my grandpa the other day. I was so happy. We laughed. you have to do those things because business is challenging and you want it to be exciting, right? But it can take a lot out of you too. And so take your rest, take your vacation, fully disconnect. It's so important. And you've left us with so many golden nuggets here. I'm so grateful for you both. I can't wait for your article to come out. Have fun on your roadshow later. And I can't wait to hear about that later too. And for us to just like reconnect. We'll have to reconnect.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
When you come back.
Yes, thank you. And thanks for everybody who did join us today live.
Yes.
Those of you who catch us on replay. I, again, know our time is so valuable. So we'll see you next month for a new feature once I'm back and refreshed from vacation and work travel. But we will put a fresh link in. And maybe Linda and Ana Maria, if you could share how someone, if they're interested in looking at ISO, we'll drop your Ventura Collective link as well. And we would love that. So grateful for you all. Karen's thanking us. Thank you for joining, all of you. And have a great week.
Thank you, Tiffany, and happy birthday.
Thank you.
Feliz cumpleaños.
What's that?
Feliz cumpleaños.
Oh, gracias. So exciting. Okay. Yes. Thank you. We can't see who LinkedIn user is. Sometimes that's how it shows up on the live streams. But yes, we will be more than willing to have this conversation with you. And I will open up these virtual doors anytime to have these conversations. So, and I'm sure I speak for the two of you as well. But thank you for an impactful, powerful conversation here on the Power of Intentional Partnerships. And have a great week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.